Hello everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome to Bass and Bonsai. We are back in the house, not out on the water or at the range. And I want to put together real quick, I know it's not oh, I'm pining for PSA and all this and that, but I want to put together a video explaining why and how that I feel that the PSA Dagger, or kind of Glock clones in general, on the cheaper ones, are the most modular and affordable way to go if you like to tinker with your firearms. So if you like to build ARs, you don't like to just go buy put together a pistol, go to the range and shoot it, and hate to clean it and take it apart and all that kind of stuff. This video is probably not for you. Well, maybe it is. But if you like the idea of tinkering and changing and all this and that, and you're a huge SIG P320 fan, in my opinion, this is a cheaper, more affordable, yet more option market right here on the Glock clones. A Glock 19 clone in general, because there's just not as much. There's a ton out there for the Glock 17 and some stuff interchanges, but for the Glock 19 tends to be the most popular slide barrel. Like, there's just everything for it, and the fact that the Dagger lowers are even though you can get the longer ones or whatever, they are basically designed off a Glock 19. The 17 slides and barrels won't fit. The 19 ones will for the Glocks. So anyway, the main key ingredient just to encompass the huge modularity available is going to be in your slide. Typically, not for everything. There is the matrix arms where actually that is an expensive lower, but their slides are pretty expensive too. But generally, on a PSA build anyway, the slide is probably your most expensive thing you can track down, and it doesn't have to be PSA on that part. Because as far as, and you guys, if I'm wrong on this, comment below, but the only really slide they make that you could use ports on would be like this one, SMR V2 or whatever it's called now. But you could, and they do make a barrel. It's never in stock. They don't, if they do sell it separately, it's very not often. But on the aftermarket side of things, you can get barrels that fit that, and I actually have one I can show you. But I don't know if that's your best option. Would be to go with PSA on the slide. It's up to you. That one would work. See how they're pointed out the side. Now they're not 100% perfect, but you could get by with that. So, in my opinion, and if you guys don't know the backstory, I kind of was building 5 of these different Daggers along the way, and I do have a Shadow Systems. This guy here, the War Poet. Most stuff interchanges. You can change it around. So not only are you limited to the Glock Gen 3, slight modifications with the Dremel tool, and you can actually, with one of these right here, you can change the front of these to where they will accept the Gen 5 slides also, and then if you want to go back, you can use this little piece to switch back and then add it to the front to where you won't have a gap in there if you're going back and forth between slides. So you could actually use one lower for multiple slides on generations also if you want to. But let's go back to the key of it. Now this thing will, the PSA lowers, let's start with them real quick. I've found that anything Gen 3 fits right on. The actual housing of the Gen 5 for the Glock Performance Trigger, the Timney Alpha, and all those tend to fit inside here also. So I think it's not 100% limited to Gen 5, but unless you know for sure, you might want to stick ones made for Gen 3 to put in any of the internal stuff. Now, the things that are PSA only, you have this. This isn't, but the little pin that holds it in is. You have to use a punch to punch those out. And then the locking block and your front rail system is basically, that's a PSA only item. And one thing's curious, you guys comment if you've seen it on their website for sale. I don't think I've ever seen this locking block assembly thing here on PSA's site by itself for sale to replace as a replacement. So I don't know if it's there or not, but think that pin may actually be just a Glock pin, may interchange, but these little roll pins, they are the only really thing that different. That's a Gen 3 or Gen 3 compatible. Any of the magazines, this is the longer one, so the Glock 17 or bigger magazines fit, but if you have the shorter frame, which I do, of course the 17s fit, but then you can also get the 19s fit right in. Also, most all of your triggers and shoes and everything like that are interchangeable. Actually, that one right here is out of the Shadow Systems because I upgraded the Shadow Systems to, I don't know if we call it upgrade or not, it's just different to the Lone Wolf out here. And one thing interesting, I know, side note, I put the Lone Wolf in this, but for whatever reason, the only way I can get it when I put the slide on is I have to not really cock it first, but I have to pull this up to that point where the safety catches it. Then it goes on, functions perfectly fine. But if you leave this back, it doesn't want to, and it's just something to do with how that's already set. I don't know what it is. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it is that does that, but it's just a little side note. Nothing to do with the Dagger. This is Shadow Systems with the Lone Wolf trigger. So if you are having that difficulty where you're like, you try to put a slide on, it's like something is off, you may try that on your triggers. Pull them all the way up and then slide it on and see if it cycles. As long as everything else works fine, it is probably just a little glitch in the stacking tolerances, but you know how to check your trigger, make sure it doesn't, first of all, I have had one, oh boy, what is it? Oh, the gold triggers, if you try to use the actual bar, the trigger bar that they come with on these gold triggers, the trigger bar itself, those things on the reset will actually let the firing pin go again. That's a bad thing. So you just switch, you just use the trigger shoe on the stock Dagger stuff, and there's no issues. But that bar that comes with these knockoffs, this is Tyrant Designs, but it's basically a knockoff off eBay. I'm not sure how the Tyrant Designs work, but the knockoff ones, if you try to use that bar, bad news. But anyway, that was kind of a little side note and rant. The main thing I want to cover in this video is the prices and the fact that as far as modularity goes, if you get one of these, and actually right now I'm going to try to get this video out today because this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, they are running, these lowers are on sale, just the stock colored ones, the ones that are actually Cerakoted, the Robin's Egg and the gold and the purple and all those are usually $100. These are on sale right now. The FDE, the green, I believe, the OD green, the black and the gray, I think, are all $49. I know these and the black and the green, I believe, are. I think the gray are too. In both sizes, the full size. I guess I should show you that if this is the first time you're watching a PSA Dagger video. You basically have two different sizes. They both fit the same length. So basically you can get a stock 19 style or 19X style lowers is what they sell on the PSA Dagger. Now the micro Dagger, that's a whole different beast. We're not talking about that in today's video. So you could get either one. Right now they're on sale for $49 by the time you get the shipping, and if you have a deal worked out with your FFL to where you could get multiple, I could basically order 3 at a time. So $150, going to cost $30 for the FFL once they show up, but then whatever shipping would be you'd add to that. So very affordable way to, and if you try to consider these, they are considered a firearm, but you could really consider these for the price. For $49, these are cheaper than a lot of your P320. Just and I also have the Springfield Echelon, just those lower grip modules they call them that don't come with any of the internal stuff. Those are hard to find cheaper than $49. I think there's a few of the stock 320s that nobody even wants anymore, really. Ones that may be available, but almost any aftermarket or any ones with any kind of, I guess, in all honesty, true value to them are probably going to be over $49. So right there, for the money wise, if you just consider these if you live in a state like I do, I can own as many firearms as I want. I mean, maybe if I ordered 100, they may come like, why do you need 100 lowers? Well, because I'm going to stipple them. But anyway, you can stipple these yourself. You can get there's several companies now making Dagger magwells and any of the Glock Gen 3 mag releases, most of the triggers like I mentioned, even this little dude right here, the Ghost forward bullet slide release, slide stop, slide release, whatever you call it. Hang on, I switched the wrong ones. I grabbed them. They all look the same. Here's the one I wanted. This one I've already, and the reason I'm using it, I've already dremeled that out to where it will accept the Glock 19X, or basically any Gen 5 that's got the bigger thing on the front. And if you haven't already told, none of these are like assembled or loaded. The only one I have out here on the table right now that's complete is this dude right here. Same kind of concept. Now, the only issue you may have if you start ordering different color stuff and the color matches don't go together and you're like, oh, that looks, funky together. But typically if you're FDE, the 50 shades of FDE kind of thing, they all, blend in, kind of stuff goes together, copper color, gold color, all works. A lot of guys are starting to slap the different green stuff, and they're slapping, there's a lot of guys are actually liking that mixing and matching color thing too, but I don't know if I'm a fan yet. But here's where it gets real interesting. You can track down, say you track down one of these, whether it be whatever, various websites, eBay, Aim Surplus, Primary Arms, Optics Planet, there's a bunch of others, Gun Broker, everybody sells slides. In all honesty, you want to find one that is appealing and looks nice, but then if you want the full modularity that's available, you want one with the top cut to accept a ported barrel, because then not only can you, get you a ported barrel, you could also get you a threaded barrel, or like the Radian Ramjet or whatever that would accept that, and then you can go with this, go with the comp, or just go if you want to try suppressed or whatever you want to try to do, and you can do all that, or you could just go with the stock. I recommend if you're going to go this route and not ports or anything, go with the threaded or fluted, spiral fluted, or some kind of fluted, just to spice it up a little bit, since if you end up with one of these slides that are all cut out. But whichever way you go, it's very cheap. You can get, whether it be eBay or Aim Surplus is the biggest one I've seen so far as cheap, affordable barrels. If you're just kind of tinkering at the range, short 10 to 15 yards, honestly, that accuracy isn't as big a deal as worried about a match grade barrel. But I've yet to find any of these that are like horrible barrels. They all shoot pretty good. Now, if you go this route, then you're talking a little more money, but I don't think you're still talking up there with the prices of what some of the, $100, $150 for a barrel. You're still right around what some of the probably P320 barrels start at. I don't know if I've yet to find a place that sells cheap 320 barrels. I've kind of been looking. I'm thinking about getting one, but I'm like, for the money, it's hard to beat. These are just cheap, like $44, $45 eBay barrels. I think Aim Surplus has them also for $42 or $44. What Aim Surplus does have now that I just found, and I'm going to probably order a few, because the only really very nice barrel I have came with my Shadow System, spiral, fluted, threaded. This one from PSA, their barrels aren't bad, but for $109, they're if you guys have heard, they've kind of had issues with not consistently making them the exact same length. Which, if you're technically, if you were running a suppressor or something, but if you're trying to put a comp on and then match it to your slide, as we'll talk about here after a while, which this one doesn't match up, but if you're trying to do that matching, sometimes people will go get a firearm, like Harrington Arms, or not people, but the companies that are making these will get a firearm with their threaded barrel and try to match it up, right? So the stacking tolerances, aftermarket stuff, are fairly common. But what I think I've heard, I think it was Harrington Arms talk about it, but there's inconsistencies where it may not be 100% thing where you crank it on, and it may be too tight, and then you have to go back off a whole rotation, and then it has too big of a gap, just because there's some tolerance issues with these. But it's still not a huge deal, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But Aim Surplus has not spiral fluted, but kind of cut and very cool shaped, with cuts up here, serration type things. threaded barrels for like $59. So these slides, roughly most of them cut out. You can look around and find it anywhere from, I have seen them as cheap as $109 at times, but under $200, about from 140 to 200, like all the time. You can always look and find either FDE, Leo Precision, or the burnt bronze, or even robin's egg, or several different ones that have the cuts to where, and I'll show you here, if you even have the cheap barrel, goes in, the port's clear, or if you have one that are, see how these are more just a little off to the side. I think that's exactly what this one was probably designed for, but it's still going to, they're going to get real dirty. But that off to the side, it's still going to be blowing a lot of gunk off to here, to where eventually this color will probably be worn off the slide. I mean, if you want a very clean gun, you don't want to go with ports. Ports are definitely the dirtiest of the way to go with. You would want a comped gun if you're wanting to not worry about getting your precious slide dirty. Doesn't matter to me. I kind of like the worn out, beat up look anyway, as you guys can tell with this one. So I've been tempted to go ahead and get a copper colored ported one if I can find one cheap enough that is definitely moved out to the side even more, or if PSA ever gets one of their black ones in to where I could track one down. For that guy, just to give me an option to switch back and forth, you know. So my first thing would be to try to track one of those down. I think I gave 160 for this one. I can't remember for sure. Now they're going to come usually stripped. You do have to pick out what internals you want to run. Any of the Gen 3s will work. You kind of don't want to chintz there. You kind of want to get halfway decent ones. But the main thing is to get the good striker, and then you could also, you know, always switch springs, go with the light, and there's a little kits they sell to kind of lighten your trigger up a little bit with the reduced spring here. You can go down, like I think I've went down 1 poundage rating, but I don't recommend anything over that, because then you kind of get in you can almost feel it in the trigger, but then you could have light strikes, and you know, you definitely don't want to try to go so light on your trigger that you end up having malfunctioning issues and the reliability becomes a problem. So what else do I need to cover? So far, and it's not a bad thing, but they all seem to be cut either for the doctor or an RMR on almost all of these aftermarket ones I'm coming across. Most of them, like this you're going to find, already are for an RMR, which isn't a bad thing. You've got the hollow sun options, the RMR, SRO, I guess, but if you have a different optic other than that, then you will be limited. But I even have the cheapest one I've come across that actually I have not tested yet. I haven't even mounted it yet. I'll just show it to you while I'm in the middle of showing stuff here. I just lost the spacer. But the fact that it's bottom mounted battery is the only thing that kind of sucks about it. But this thing can be had for under $100. Go to 704 Tactical, watch his video, or track down his. I'm not going to give you his code to get a discount. I just don't feel that's right, but he definitely gets a discount through Amazon on these Oak Plus. 704 Tactical. He's got a little camping website homepage. I don't know, whatever. Go there and you can find the code. And I got this for under $100. Very huge window compared to a normal. Pushing, it's kind of like in between. It's probably not as big as the 507 comp, but it's definitely way bigger than the 507. Shake awake, it's just a simple, and it does come with these. If you have you don't have a rear sight, it does give you at least something to add a little co-witness to the front of your front sight. But so far, just turning it on, I have not tested it all, but definitely the clarity seems to be decent. I've watched 704 Tactical do several tests on it, so that's what made me go ahead and invest. You know, it's under $100, might as well give it a shot. But that's probably the cheapest option I would recommend to start with. Still not sure if I like this option, the Artemis. It's the best I've tested. That I got it for just under 100, but they sell regularly for 120 everywhere. The Artemis. It's the coolest one because it's got even more reticle options than the Hollow Suns, but I'm still not sure what I think of this red dot. And I've talked about it before because there's no lens in the back. Same thing with this one. I'm still trying to look for that under $100 red dot that I 100%, would like recommend. This one, I mean, if you are just going to the range like me, I don't think I'm going to have any issues with this one. If I was trying to go where this could get clogged up, I definitely wouldn't. I would stick with the Holosun. They've got a little, I've talked about it several times. There's actually, even though it's not an enclosed, optic, it is, you can't see it, but there is a little glass there. You can clean it off. Like, I know you wouldn't want to, but if you pulled your red dot up, first of all, you got co-witness usually. So if you presented to do whatever and you're, if you're aiming your firearm at something you're probably going to want to shoot and you don't see a dot, you're just going to want to jump right to your irons anyway, regardless of whatever one you have. But the chances of something getting in there and staying to where it's almost you can't get it out, you're not going to have that issue with the Holosuns. And I don't know about the higher end like the RMRs and all that, but with this one here and the other ones I've mentioned, most of your cheaper ones under 100, there's not a true glass there blocking stuff from going down and in and literally crudding up to the point where could make this inoperable, like, period. No matter how much time you took to mess with it, it may just jack it up. But if you're like me, this is going on one I'm going just to the range with anyway. I'm going to give it a shot. So I'm going to keep this video under a half hour. I know I'm horrible about keeping my videos down. So what else do I want to cover? This, and if you got any questions, I've answered 50 times on where to find. I'm not sponsored by anybody, so I'm not huge on, I know you guys want to know where some of this, what's the link to this, what's the link to that. I don't share links. First of all, because I can't. I would have to add them somewhere else, like you've watched a lot of 704 Tactical, who I've mentioned, and several others. They have another, like, tactical toolbox. You go to this other website, this and that. Just search for yourself like I did. You want to find something to do with these, go to eBay. It's not called an aluminum. It's called Alum, A-L-U-M, Glock 19 mag release. You will find this, I promise you. It's just the one with the two little screws. In my opinion, it's just a little better. They do have a lot of these with just one big screw holding. The aluminum part is this piece, not this. So what I may try to do in the future, I haven't decided yet, I may try to shave this down. So if you guys are like me and you're like, I don't know if I like how far it sticks out. I like the fact it moved it this way. But if, because I'm here and I can hit it just like way easier. It makes it way easier for me. Like, I had a hard time when it's up there like that. So that just made it easier and being a little higher. But I thought about trying one of these going down and making it shorter. So here's the thing. If you're going to try that, like I'm thinking about, or if you have any fears of using this, because like, I don't know, Charlie, those screws look kind of thin, and if it were to break, no problem. Because if the stock one that comes out of these daggers is exactly what that piece is, so it's that high. So if, say, catastrophe happened, this got snagged on something or whatever and ripped completely off. First of all, it shouldn't release your magazine if it got snagged, because it's going to be pulling out on it, not pushing in. So say that got caught and you yanked in a hurry or whatever and you just ripped that off, you still have a plastic mag release. So if you were trying to go like, well, I'm going to lower that, the easiest way would be I'm going to just shave off some of this plastic and move the metal down. No, you don't want to do that, just for that reason. In case in the future something were to catch that and rips it off, if you shave this down some to where it makes this a little lower, well, then you may have got it to the point where it'll be so hard to try to release that mag if you had to. Just my opinion. I mean, you do whatever you want to do. But for me, if I try it, even though it'll be a little harder, I will shave off some of the aluminum and then put the screws back in. So the first thing I would want to do is get probably a different one on a different firearm. I think I'll leave these alone, but I may try it on one of these. Take the screws out, move this piece. Actually, you're going to want to make sure the screws can go in further. If they can't, you would almost have to well, there's two ways. You could shorten the screws just a hair, because they do go in there quite a ways. They're pretty long screws. Or you could re-tap, just make the holes a little bit longer so the screws will go down a little bit more, because there is tons of room, all the way to here, literally. You could have screws. They're not that long, but they do go, they go in there plenty far enough. So I'm thinking about trying that in the future. And if you have that idea, like, I don't know if I like how far that sticks out. I like the idea of coming this way, but not how far it sticks out. You do have to have it so far, because when you push, I'll try to show you. It does have to, now the fact it's over the plastic, it does have to stick out, but it could go, releases there. So there's a little room, and you could always Dremel just a little more off that. If, like, say you goof, say you cut this down, you put it back on, and you're like, oh, it's a little too tight. You could always just take it back off, give it a little, customize it. But I'm thinking about doing that. Haven't decided yet. That is the slide. That's the mag release I recommended. Just in my opinion, it's not sharp, but I kind of wish they would have rounded the edges more before they anodized it. I mean, I could sand them down a little bit, give it that worn-in look, and it would actually probably. But that, I don't think over a long period of time it still wouldn't. It just, you can kind of feel it. That there's definitely, they didn't take. They kind of rounded them. I've seen some of them even sharper, so it's not bad. But the way they left that last one, I guess, it does. And this one actually doesn't feel bad. I do have another one. One of them feels a little sharper than the others. When you just hit it, you can kind of feel it, something poking on you, just a hair. But it's not. That's like it's a sissy thing. It's no big deal. It definitely just made the. If you guys know anything about the stock daggers, oh my God, when you're trying to push that stock one, you'd be like, you're like trying to He-Man it, and you move your thumb back, and you'll have this huge indent to where they're like a flat, sharp, very small area to push, and these are designed differently than the Glocks. If you look down in there, the little metal rod that sticks up, it hits the plastic faster on the frame part, and so it's just a stiffer mag release, which isn't a bad thing as long as when you hit it, it releases. It's not a bad thing that it's going to take a little more pressure to push, less likely to accidentally get knocked around. But so once I added that, I felt no issues there with getting the mag to release. So I haven't felt the need to worry about. They do make even a lighter spring for the Glocks. I call the spring, it's basically just a metal rod. They do make a lighter one. So I stippled this one myself. I left a little thing. Just once I heard somebody talking about if you need to, you can kind of let go of your grip, and the gun will, basically up here. There's no, and this is also for comfort, but there's nothing. So like your gun's loosey-goosey as soon as you let off. If you need to manipulate, turn it for whatever you're needing to do. But then the minute you grab back on, is why, if you ever see any of these with this left alone, you're wondering why they do that, or if they don't go too high up here. This you could get to where if you stippled the whole thing, like the whole back part here, I mean, it'll kind of work, but then you could get it to, because if you guys don't know the human anatomy, this part of your hand is a lot tougher. Once you get around here, you guys know this, you just get more sensitive, and as you get, like me, up there to be an old geezer, you get your skin literally just doesn't take as much, but a lot of people's skin doesn't take as much to get cuts and just start to wear on it and become an issue, especially if you like going shooting a lot. Good idea not to stipple way up in there, have that kind of smooth, and then this one on this finger just so it won't, it's way better, trust me. And then I just added these just because, might as well. Now, one of them I did do, and I don't know if I liked it. I thought I would like that, and I'm going to show you this. I know, I try to keep everything a half hour. Where's the one? I tried one, and then I was like, I don't know if I like that, so I left it alone. If you have a larger hand, you may want to cut that, like if you guys can see what I did. So I extended this out, the ledge, but for me and my hands, once I did that, it felt like I needed to almost have to put my hand out further. So you come up here, and then that ledge moved out. I thought I was giving myself more room, to put my whole thumb on there, but actually all I ended up doing was making it a further reach out to that. In all honesty, if you're going to run lights on all your weapons, your best bet may be to incorporated grip that is down here using this, and then you could always use it to, while your fingers, you can sit and do this with your light, while you're accessing what, trying to figure out a situation. And then if it, does come time to go boom, you're down here with your thumb on the light anyway. You just move this finger from, instead of turning it off, you're like, oh yeah, I definitely want to, shoot that into that. So that may be something that I would try to, then you're like, what do you do if you don't have a light? Simple, you just don't worry about it because you don't have a light. But anyway, yeah. Any other questions? Drop them in the comments below. You want a link to something? Go watch 704 Tactical Toolbox, or one of those guys that puts links down below. You got a question about where to find it? Just comment below. I'll tell you how to get to it. Some stuff can be very hard to find. Certainly, it takes a little keyword, like I talked about in this one. ALUM. The Ranger Proof definitely probably makes the coolest trigger. I've got videos out on it, but I don't. It didn't work with just my stock Dagger. This is a Glock Performance trigger with the Ranger Proof trigger shoe, and that works awesome. I'll show you this one's clear, but like technically, I mean, I could maybe move it back a little more, but like that's right there. The safety's already there, so you're basically wall, break. That's very good. And I haven't worried about making it lighter. So for me, it's the best, definitely the best trigger I have over the Timney Alpha, because it, let's see what it's breaking at today. So yeah, just over, right around 4, just over, but you could make it go to 3. This is the stock stuff that came in this PSA upper. So I could go like a pound lighter here. I think I did, maybe I didn't. I want to say the plunger spring I changed out to reduce one. I can't remember, but I could go lighter. But that thing just feels, it's so right there, and it feels so light already. Like I wouldn't want it. I mean, if I got into worrying about, how truly accurate I could get at the range, because I suck right now, I may try to lighten it up to get that much more, and I would maybe, I guess if I was really, really into, I don't know, worrying about it, I would maybe go all the way with that Glock Performance trigger with that Ranger Proof, or maybe test a few others on it, But the Glock Performance trigger, I've heard a lot of people talk, they're starting to talk negatively about it now. Long-term use. Well, yeah, anytime you add more moving parts to something that already works and is so reliable, you're going to have to clean more. You're going to have more if you add tighter tolerances, get everything more to a 1911 style. You're going to have just run it, run and gun. Don't worry about cleaning as much as the Glock, the Glock is known for. Then, yeah, you're going to have to keep your firearm a little cleaner, a little whatever, but I haven't heard anybody talking about it just totally wearing out so fast, but I have heard issues with the Glock Performance trigger over the Timney that you have to, I guess, do a little more maintenance-wise as far as cleaning. It could get gummed up faster. But the Timney Alpha just sucks for the, I've talked about it. I can't get myself over the reset. You guys have heard me talk about this before. I just can't get to the point where I'm happy with the reset on it. We're already over 30 minutes. So I guess, did I show you guys what you could do here? So let's just, yeah, I think I showed you basically all the changes you could do. You can run, so basically if you find a slide like this, you can run almost any, and if you find one with the top completely cut out, you can run any ported barrel for the Glock 19, any threaded barrel for the Glock 19, any regular barrel. So you've got basically, with one slide, 3 different barrels. You've got a firearm that's going to feel totally different. You add this lower PSA. I'm not going to mess with triggers. Are like a whole different beast. You can go with stock, which actually does work. You can go up to $250, $500 Johnny Glocks, or the I might want to talk about tactical pontoon. Tactical pontoon, Johnny Glocks. If you're going to go with somebody that's putting trigger assemblies together, those are probably the 2 top guys I would recommend. Of course, there's all these others, you know, different defense and, you know, combat trigger stuff other than those two guys that kind of put their own stuff. Zev, Overwatch Precision, Apex, you know, whatever. They're just so, like, well, that's huge. So we're going to leave that part out. But to go with just a, I don't know, we'll call it a $50 trigger upgrade, because you definitely, in my opinion, you want to go with a different shoe, which I did. I like this one, the Tyrant Designs. You can get them on eBay. I don't even know. Just put whatever color you're looking for, Glock 19 trigger or shoe, whatever color you want, and just cycle through until you find one that looks like this. They don't make every color, but they make a lot of different ones. And they're probably red or gold. There's their main two. Just aluminum. I think I put aluminum. Glock trigger shoe until you find one of these made for the 19, 17, 26, whatever, all the numbers. I like that one for under $50. You add it to the stock PSA Dagger, and you're good to go. So let's just add this up real quick, and then I'm gonna end this video. We're not gonna talk about optics either. So you go as cheap as to 100. You got a wide variety with an RMR cut. But to get you started on that path to where you've got a different feeling firearm, like I mentioned, right now they're always $59, but right now they're on sale for $49. So 49, we'll add the 50, we're going to add the 20. So let's go 50, 50, there's 100, 125, we'll add the 25 here. So just, wait, let's start over. I need a calculator for this. So we got 100, we're going to add 50, so we got 150 to get kind of this point without the magazine. Oh, I added this. That's like under 20 bucks, $18.95 on eBay. If you wanted to roll that way, you don't need any. You could get just the stock $50 to start, but I did add that. It made it better in my opinion. But you could also just go buy a couple different colors of these. You could get, and they actually sell these almost all the time for 109 bucks, like a lower full size and a regular size lowers for like 109 bucks. You get both the same color, but you could mix and match whatever. So say you just go get you two lowers to start, you're going to spend 100 bucks plus tax, FFL, all that. Tracking one of these down for like 150, let's just say, put it in the middle. 160, let's go with 160. You're going to need some kind of sights. You can get them as cheap as under 20 bucks. If you're going to run a red dot, just get these cheap plastic ones, slap them on, just an emergency. Oh, look, there's a, you know, close distances, a lot of people say you don't even need any kind of sights if someone's attacking you. But you could get those if you've got a fear of that. Under 20 bucks, a $30 to $50 kit to put in your slide that covers that stuff. And then we're going to leave this barrel out of the mix. You're going to get, we're going to call this the AIM Surplus. It's not. It's $109 all the time, every day, night and day at PSA. That's what this one is. The AIM Surplus have, it just, they look cooler and only 59 bucks. That's why I'd go with AIM Surplus. Probably same quality. Go to AIM Surplus, probably get all your barrels. Get you some sort of threaded Glock 19, some sort of ported Glock 19, and then just a standard whatever with that. So you're looking at 60, I think these are 44, and these are, I think, the same price. So let's just call it 150, so there's your 300 bucks, 350, 4. Let's just put it at $500. Maybe pick you up what, and you get different. I I just bought these because I was on a peanut butter kick, right? So I bought a bunch of these at once. They were like under 30 bucks. Where did I get these at? One or two places. It's either probably Primary Arms. It could have been Optics Planet. I think it was Primary Arms. Could have been AIM Surplus, but check those three. Those are usually the three places I look at for new stuff. AIM Surplus, Primary Arms, or Optics Planet. They had these cheapest I could find them in stock, so I ordered 5 or 6 of them. But you can go as cheap as the, you know, whatever the PMags. And if you're just like, well, I don't know what I want, like I just would get the ones for the Glock 17 because, you know, maybe get one for a Glock 19 or whatever because they don't come with it if you just buy the lower. if you're wanting to conceal carry. But then everything else, like, because that right there, a Glock 17 sticking out a little bit, it is not going to hinder you in any way once you're, whether you're at the range or doing whatever, unless you're trying to conceal it. And it may still be able to get by with it fine. And they don't really, there's, in my opinion, no issue with those. Like those sticking out of a Glock 17 standard, even the 19 for the 19. Whoa, I missed that. I was looking through the camera. Are not a big deal. So if you're going to go with the smaller, lower, I would still probably track down for most of your range mags, Glock 17 size. Maybe get one that's for the. There's a true Glock one. Now this one fits in and out of this one fine, but I have had an issue, and it's just this. It's actually a Glock mag. I have had an issue where it does not release. Plus, when you put these, like I did, so this is an older used one. It came with the Shadow Systems, and I guess it's just gotten swelled over time, and it's a true Glock one. Fits fine in and out of the Shadow Systems. It definitely, there's a little tighter tolerances in this Dagger. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to end this video. Jesus, 41 minutes. Hopefully you liked it. You got any questions just on how the pricing, how, then if you're like, oh, I want a different color, this and that, you're literally talking that $50 to $75 can get you a whole different lower, or let's call them grip modules. You can get a whole different size, whether it's the shorter or the full size grip module from PSA. All the time, they're always $59, like nonstop. Now, if you want to get a robin's egg or one of those other colors, they're Cerakoted. So you're gonna, if you went to stipple those, it will change the color of those. The FDE, the OD green, or sniper green they call it, the gray and the black, they are actually molded in that color. All the other ones, I believe, are Cerakoted over. So if you wanted to get one, you're going to stipple it and do stuff, it will change the color. I don't know what color their base color is that then they Cerakote, so which could be cool. A two-tone color may be cool, but they start with probably this one. I would imagine that all of them are dyed off the FDE, so that may not be a bad look, but just know that in advance, and they're $100. If you see them on there and they're $99 for the full size or the compact Dagger, they're Cerakoted. That's why they add more money. And any barrel, if you're aim surplus, there are some expensive barrels that are very cool looking ones. If you want to, spend more money, feel free, but you don't have to. You can stay pretty modular on a budget. And then all of them, whatever light you want to run, if you're going to run a comp or not. I didn't really talk about that. The Shadow Systems, in my opinion, I'm just going to talk about that real quick. See, like this one would fit right on the Shadow Systems. In my opinion, that Shadow Systems that have this cut like this are more in the form of the Gen 5. They're narrowed up. So I'm still not sure. You guys comment if you know 100% on the Radian Ramjet or anything with a compensator. When it says Gen 3, I think it's going to be flatter because this one fits right on. Now I cut it and changed it around to make it fit on a Glock 26 frame or slide. But so it fits right on. It fit right on this, which is a Gen 5. Says right on it somewhere. I thought it said right on it. Maybe it doesn't. But anyway, it's got the cut up the front. Would not fit. I could make it fit on this being cut some more. And then where's the other one? This one. It's more of a flush. I think this, even though it's got some cuts, is more like what your Gen 3 Glocks. They were pretty much flat-faced, right, on the front. So when you see something that says... Now, this one, I could actually make it fit. It would take a little bit of tweaking, but I could make this one fit on. So if you're curious, like, well, I don't know, I'm getting a PSA, and I don't have this off out of the way. Like, I believe this would fit. I would think that if you have this and you want to run a comp, you would probably want to go with a Gen 5 comp. See how cut and narrow that is? Even more so. I think it's even as narrow or narrower than my shadow systems. So like this one would probably go on there and work just fine. I believe it's for Gen 5 Glock, the Harrington Arms. If you have that SV3 or whatever. Like, that's a slide I recommend. If you're going to get a slide off PSA, that one, it's just, you can do more with it, and it just looks cool. It's got more cuts all around it. I know I got my finger in the HUD. That's not my trigger finger in the trigger. This one's empty. We already did this one. We did a trigger pull on. But yeah, that's my favorite of the PSA Dagger slides. That one right there. That thing's just awesome. The other ones, I've thought about getting one or two, but I think there's so many others on the market that are, in all honesty, the PSA Dagger is, most of them just with sights and the internals, but without a barrel, are like $204. Sometimes you catch them on sale, like and there is a sale going on right now, and this guy, $249, I believe. The FDE version, the newer version of this with I want to say a black barrel, threaded barrel, is like $250. So that's not bad. You're basically talking $60 barrel and $180 for the, more or less. Even if you wanted to use threaded black barrel for something else, and you wanted to put some kind of porting on. Well, it just made noise. Anyway, I'm out of here, guys. Thanks for watching. If you're watching this video and it's still the St. Patrick's Day deal, your snake parade's not through, go to PSA and look at the Dagger stuff. It's definitely on sale right now, but it's always reasonably priced, and it always goes back on sale. Anytime there's the wind blows the wrong way, PSA will throw a sale on of some kind or another, which isn't a bad thing. Not knocking them. I'm just saying. Thanks for watching, guys. Get out. Go Bass and Bonsai, get you some comps, get you some ports, get you some slides, get you some red dots. Whatever you do, get a red dot. Can you shoot without a red dot? Sure you can. Can you shoot without a light? Sure you can. Right? Just ask Ken Hackathorn. But might as well make this close to a 50-minute video. I've had people on this just, I can't believe it's even a thing on the internet now that, oh, you don't need a light. Oh, you need a light. You don't need a light. For a lot of you and me, we don't need a gun. Is it nice to have? Yeah. So if you have the idea that I need a gun and I need a light, who's to tell you that you don't need that gun? You don't need that light, right? You have no ill intentions, right? Your intentions are good. You can have whatever you want to have. You can have a gun designed whatever way you want, other than you definitely need to make sure that it is a safe firearm, that you haven't monkeyed with the trigger, you haven't, monkeyed with something so much to the point that it is an unsafe firearm. As long as it's safe as it came out from the factory, other than maybe a P320, but they are supposed to be good now. They had some issues there, and there's several firearms out there that are not drop safe. Just to be clear, I feel a Glock and any of these that don't actually have an external safety, but this safety, are more or less the only true drop safe firearm, because if you drop them, they should not go off. They've been tested. In my thoughts and feelings, anything that's got an external safety, and say whatever reason you don't have that safety on and you drop it, it can go off, in my opinion. I've not done any testing, but the beloved 1911s, from anything, like those aren't really designed, nothing's designed to be dropped, but if it's got an external safety, a lot of that stuff hasn't, maybe not gone through as much testing on drop safe, because, with the safety on, that's what's in there just completely blocking everything, to where some firearms, like the Glock, for instance, have this last little thing to where if this trigger safety, drop safety, is engaged, there's no way that can move, which means that bar that would activate or deactivate that safety, let's put it that way, it can't move. This can't move. There's no way that pin can go in there and hit if you got a live round. Even if this broke off, there's no way that can happen. That is how you get that on most of your firearms. Glock, in my opinion, is the best at it. One of the reasons why you can't kill the Glock And the aftermarket, like I just mentioned, is the other reason. But it's probably the safest handgun in the market as far as dropping, throwing it around, banging around, beating somebody on the head with it before you have to fire around just for whatever reason. It just won't go off. And some guns are notorious for not having that same safety, but I think they've fixed it with the SIGs. But in my opinion, if I were to get a P320, I was thinking I'll just get one with the external. I'm thinking that because there's a couple companies that make a trigger like this, more or less, for a P320. That's probably what I would get for mine. Just to have that extra little, like, I ain't got to worry about it. It's, you know, pretty much as safe as most of these firearms that come with this. Anyway, 50 minutes. Thanks for watching, guys. I know I talk a lot. Welcome to my world.